Alex, I was looking at my scrap bin this morning, which, let's be honest, is more of a scrap mountain at this point, and I realized something. Every piece of oak in there represents a time I thought I was smarter than a tape measure.
Only one bin? Tiger, I've seen your patio. You're one breezy afternoon away from a structural collapse of cherry offcuts.
It's a curated collection. But seriously, looking at those scraps makes me realize how fast the old ways are merging with the new ways. We're sitting here in May 2026, and the stuff landing on my desk today, it feels like we finally stepped into the future without losing the sawdust under our fingernails.
It really does. Between the tech breakthroughs and the massive shift in how people are looking at trade careers, it's a wild time to be a person who actually makes things. We've got a packed daily digest today. We're talking about 3D printing that thinks it's an inkjet, the 10-year trade boom, and why your Instagram might be failing because you're talking at people instead of with them.
Let's dive into the hardware first, because this gave me a physical headache trying to wrap my brain around it. You remember when 3D printing meant you picked a color, snapped in a spool, and hoped the Barbie pink didn't look too fleshy when it finished?
I remember you printing a drawer pull that looked like a piece of chewed bubblegum. It was unsettling.
Precise. But now, we're looking at filament interpolation. Imagine taking 5 core colors, the CMYK of the plastic world, and the printer actually blends them on the fly during the extrusion. They're hitting 292 distinct shades now.
Wait, so instead of buying 30 different spools of various almost blues, I just load the primaries and the software paints with the plastic?
Exactly, it's like having a digital paintbrush that works in 3 dimensions. I spent years trying to figure out how to dye resin to match a specific walnut burl, and now some kid in his garage is just clicking a hex code and printing a perfect match. It's brilliant, and it makes my old soul a little bit jealous.
Speaking of plastic, let's talk about the Peoply Giga 800. You called it a monster in the notes. Why?
Because it's hungry, Alex. This thing doesn't use spools. Spools are for hobbyists now. This beast runs on pellets. The raw industrial plastic beads they ship in giant sacks.
Why does that matter to someone who isn't running a factory?
Because it's cheap. Should be illegal cheap. We're talking about slashing material costs by 90%, plus it spits out 3 kilograms of material an hour. I could print a full-size chair frame before I finish my Sunday nap. If you're building furniture or large enclosures, the era of it's too big to print just ended. It's a disruptive powerhouse.
It's funny, you're getting all excited about robots printing chairs, but the data is saying we need human hands more than ever. Have you seen the JLL projections for the next 10 years?
The trade boom? Yeah. It's about time people realize that a degree-only path is a bit of a lopsided way to build a society.
It's a massive swing. Electricians are looking at nearly 10% growth by 2034. HVAC is right behind them at 8%. These aren't just jobs, they're high-tech, recession-proof careers, but you always say there's a trick to not just being the guy with the wrench, right?
Every time. If you're entering the trades today, don't just stay in your lane. I call it interdisciplinary skill stacking. If you're an electrician who actually understands how an HVAC controller communicates with a heat pump, you aren't just a technician anymore. You're the smartest person on the job site. You become the person who solves the problems that make everyone else scratch their heads.
It's that T-shaped professional thing. Deep knowledge in one spot, but a broad understanding of the whole house. But Tiger, even the best electrician in the world needs a client, and the way people are finding pros in 2026 has changed. You were ranting about broadcasting on the way into the studio.
Guilty. It's because I see these incredibly talented woodworkers basically shouting into a megaphone at a brick wall. They post a photo and say, "Buy my vase, nobody cares." In 2026, the megaphone is broken. We're in the era of community.
So, what's the move? If I'm a maker trying to pay my mortgage, what am I doing differently on Instagram or whatever the platform of the week is?
You stop treating your followers like a target market and start treating them like a shop crew. Use the subscriber-only features. Show them the disaster. Show them the time the finish bubbled or the weld snapped. Ask them to vote on the next project. People don't want to buy a finished object. They want to buy the story of how it survived your workshop.
It's the high-intent buyer strategy too, right? Not just shouting to everyone, but finding the person who is actually looking for that specific handmade touch.
Exactly. Don't just boost a post and pray. Use the tools to find people who are actually looking for home renovations. And for the love of all that is holy, find a hook. If your video starts with you standing there saying, "Hi guys," you've already lost them. Start with the problem. This table was headed for the landfill until I found a chainsaw and a dream. Give him a reason to stay.
A chainsaw and a dream. That's usually how your Saturdays start anyway.
Hey, it hasn't failed me yet, mostly.
Okay, let's get practical for the weekend. I know you've been playing with that half-wall hack using the new AI planning tools.
Oh man, you know how framing a pony wall used to involve a lot of squinting, three different levels, and a fair amount of cursing at your floor joists?
I remember you once spent a whole afternoon trying to find a stud that didn't exist.
We don't talk about the great stud hunt of 2022. But now, with tools like Planner 5D, you can visualize the whole thing in AR before you even buy a 2x4. It's the perfect weekend project. Defines an open concept room, gives you a place to put some beautiful custom trim, and doesn't kill the natural light.
And you're also suggesting people film themselves, even if they don't post it? That feels a bit Big Brother for a hobby.
It's not for the gram, Alex. It's for the mirror. Set up a tripod and record a long-form time lapse of your workflow. When you play it back at 10x speed, you'll realize you walked across the shop 40 times just to grab a screwdriver that should have been in your pocket. It's the best way to see the clutter in your own habits. It's like a game film for craftsmen.
That's actually a really smart way to spot where you're wasting time. I might do that for my kitchen prep and realize why it takes me an hour to make toast.
It's all about the tuning, Alex. Whether it's tuning a 3D printer to blend colors, tuning your career to match the 2034 trade boom, or tuning your workshop habits.
And that's the takeaway for today, isn't it? The tools are getting smarter, but they still need someone with the grit to point them in the right direction.
Spot on. Don't be afraid of the new tech, but don't let it replace the intuition you've built up. Use the pellets, use the AI, but keep your eyes on the grain.
That's a wrap for the TigerDen Daily. If you're ready to level up, head over to the website. We've got those trade certification guides, the 2026 pricing calculators for the maker moguls, and the full step-by-step for that half-wall hack.
Stay gritty, stay creative. I'll be here, probably trying to find where I put my favorite marking knife.
Check the scrap mountain, Tiger. It's always in the scrap mountain.